That's one of the things that just really is getting to me right now is like this martyrdom of Tory Lanez. Like he's
Crazy.
standing for something. He doesn't stand for
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
Like what are we Tory,
yeah.
Tory Lanez not standing for any political movement. He doesn't know you. Real rap. Like he doesn't know you.
He doesn't know you.
He doesn't know you. He doesn't. I'm gonna break the fourth wall for you. Tory Lanez don't give a fuck about you as long as he was outside. Welcome everybody to Soundbites, a part of the album mode where we talk about the music, the culture, and how all those and the internet and how all those things intertwine. This is your boy DeMar Grant, aka King Grant. I'm here with Adriel Smiley, aka AdrielSmiley.com, aka Adriel Smiley Official, aka The Godfather. Adriel, we are here hot. Okay, we're here hot. We always do the review first, then the sound bites, and we got to the point where we were having our little pre-production combo, and we were just sounding off on this Tory Lanez sentencing. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do the sound bites first. This is the first ever time we are
Yep.
recording the sound bites first for this podcast. Tory Lanez is being sentenced for 10 years. 10 years behind bars for shooting
This
Megan Thee
is
Stallion in the foot.
this is like when we did our first in person for Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
This is like the version of that. Like Tory Lanez brought himself to do sound bites before the actual album review.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was a huge thing online yesterday. Everyone's been waiting for it. A lot of comments I saw was a lot of people being like, if he gets more than 5, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets, whatever, this is crazy. And the perspective that I saw that I really thought made a lot of sense to me is someone said, we are forgetting that where this happened. I think
Mm-hmm.
everyone's looking at this like this was, a regular woman and a regular man, in your neighborhood. This happened, in one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in LA. And, the people that live on that block, they don't want no guns going off, in their neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a part of his sentencing where I feel like the 10 years made more sense, is that like you can't come to that block and let no guns off. That block is supposed to be safe. There's billions of dollars in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want your hood lifestyle around that. And so I think that's a big part of this, as well as like, yes, it was Meg Thee Stallion. That's important. It was a high profile case, but I think like that's part of the sentencing as well. He was eligible for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
He got 10. This is a question I see a lot. And I got to ask you this. How many do you think he's going to actually do?
Well, from what I've read, in the state of California, you got to do 85% of your sentencing time. So this guy's getting at least eight and a half.
8.5. Yep.
Eight and a
That
half
math adds
is,
up.
yeah.
Oh, DC math.
I don't have to get the calculator out for that one. Eight and a half is sounding very, very I don't want to say reasonable, but I want to say likely, very likely that he's
Yes.
doing at least eight and a
Yes.
half. 10 is probably he probably won't do all 10 just because he's a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
In 8.5 years from now, he probably will still be a celebrity.
Oh, for sure.
Uh,
If Bobby
uh,
Shmurda's still a celebrity,
yeah, Bobby
then
Schmurda. So he'll
yeah.
still be a celebrity. I would assume that he's going to be trying to do stuff that are keeping him on, is in good standing with everybody, so he can kind of get out early. But I think he's doing at least the 8.5. The 10, I wouldn't even be surprised if he did the full 10.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say right now, this is an all-time fumble, like an all-time life fumble, just life, not even
Talk
just.
about it. Talk about it, man.
I mean, successful music career, right? And remember he was on Remember he was on the remix for What's Poppin'? Like he was
Yeah,
actually,
he was the
like Tory
main
Lanez
guy.
was
Yeah.
a real dude. He wasn't just like in the shadows. Like Tory Lanez was a real dude. Real artist from Toronto, Brampton, I believe.
Yep.
From the GTA. He was from the GTA, and yeah, so successful, like legitimately successful music career. Was dating Megan Thee Stallion. I feel like that's a plus in life.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
would consider that a plus. And also, I think something I've not seen a lot of recently or at all. Nobody's mentioning this. Quarantine radio, right?
That was
He
that was the
was
main
it.
thing.
He was it, bro. He was getting. I was looking it up in the past, trying to find like the old streams and trying to find if like people screen capped it. There's screen captures of like 70,000 people, 200,000 people.
What? Did
Everybody
you
was
watch any
watching
of
it.
those? Did you
Yeah,
watch
I
any
was
of
watching it.
those?
Everybody
Yeah,
was watching.
those.
It was the only thing on, really, because this was in 2020,
Bro,
right?
this
This was
this was peak pandemic.
peak pandemic. This was lockdown, lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
20,000 viewers watching his shit, hours on end. Anytime you went up, like not even 20, 200,000. Sorry,
Yeah,
10x, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, so to go from that, like he was literally the hottest person out. Like he was literally one of the hottest people out. To go from that to you're sitting down for 10 years is actually a mind boggle of a fumble, bro. Lost literally everything. 10 years from now, does anybody care about Tory Lanez's muse? 10 Tory Lanez music 10 years from now? I don't really think so.
I think
Um
people will still care personally because I think like you brought up a great point talking about quarantine radio. Like that was the peak.
that was
Like
it. He was it, bro. He was it
I
at that
remember
moment.
I remember getting DMs every day of someone being like, yo, quarantine radio, don't miss out. Like this happened, this happened.
Mhm.
And Tory Lanez, even though I haven't always been a fan of his music, he has like a strong, loyal fan base that was like kind of helping him get ready for the next step in his career. Like he had some hits before, he had some hit songs, some big features, but
Mhm.
this was gonna be like the biggest time in his career.
Also, to add on top of that, he had just left his label. Remember that? He had just
Yeah,
left
that's
his
his.
label and quarantine radio was going crazy. Like he was like this is what I'm trying to show to people. Like he just left his label. Quarantine radio's going crazy. It was I'm looking at an article from the Ringer right now.
Mhm.
Tory Lanez has turned quarantine radio into one of our great isolation pastimes.
Yeah,
Like
that
he
was
was it.
real. And the thing that's crazy too is like I remember like I have some people in my life who have been Tory Lanez fans for a long time, and that was gonna be like I don't know who to compare him to how big he was gonna get, but he was about to be like a very big artist. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was already a big artist before then. He had some success, had some hit songs, but he left his label. That was a huge deal. Quarantine Radio was bubbling. He had mentioned on Quarantine Radio that he had a whole album ready to go. And he was
Yeah.
like, he's like, I record all my songs, I do all my videos myself, I edit all my videos myself. And so it's like it was about to be going down. And for someone like Tory Lanez who has that like core fan base has been rocking with him for a long time, like I don't know how many of y'all know about the Tory Lanez covers back in the day when he used to cover Drake songs, when he
Mm-hmm.
had a real gap between his teeth. That Tory Lanez, like he's been around a long time. And so you talk about the biggest fumble of all time. I think that's fair to say because it's right now it's between him and OJ. Like OJ, like OJ is up there for sure because everyone loved OJ.
Mm-hmm.
Tory Lanez wasn't as loved as OJ was,
Yeah.
but in terms of just his music and his career, having that core fan base with his hit making ability, he was headed to a different place. And then as well, I gotta say this: like the whole thing with him and Meg, my thing, I wonder how that's gonna age
Mm.
because there's still people to this day who feel like he's innocent, feel like he didn't do it. That's a whole separate issue. I don't know if you want to get into that, but I think that's says a lot about kind of how where the internet is at and
Yeah.
where men are at especially. But I think that that's going to be the thing I pay attention to of how that ages because Meg had a few times where she like went online, went on live a couple times, spoke
Mm-hmm.
her piece, and there was a lot of people not believing her. A lot of
Yeah.
people being like, she's lying, it's not true. And personally, I don't like that precedent we're setting of just not believing women in general, especially Black women. The
Mm-hmm.
world has let us know 10 times over, what they feel about Black women. And to see the hip hop culture not kind of stand behind her at that time, I didn't love that. And especially because, listen, Tory Lanez was cool, quarantine radio was popping. Where Tory Lanez is not like Drake or J. Cole, where it's like we're all gonna stand behind them in droves.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Tory Lanez, So I really expected more people to be standing with Meg just from the fact that a woman was abused, a woman was hurt, a woman was shot at. We can't have that. And
Yeah.
so I'm interested to see how that ages of, are men going to be standing their ground and saying, no, I know he didn't do it, and free Tory Lanez t-shirt. It's like, I can't wait to see how that ages, because I think, 8 years from now, 10 years from now, that's going to be something that's going to be kind of a divider of the culture in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
where 5, 6 years from now, again, if let's say me and you are out and we meet someone and they're all free Tory Lanez, free Tory, we're gonna look at him a little, different. And it goes the same way as if, 10 years from now, someone says, I used to be a free Tory Lanez guy, but I
Mm-hmm.
came to my senses. But okay, growth
To my
here.
senses. I don't
So
know if
I'm
there's
interested
a
to see how
coming
that
to my
goes.
senses for these people on the real. I
Yeah,
think
you're
that
right.
I think that I'm gonna see. Here's something that I'm gonna tell people. I think you can ask, if you're gonna go on a first date, if you just ask somebody, what do you think of the Megan Thee Stallion versus Tory Lanez situation? You can sort a person right there. I feel like you can just that's gonna pretty much define what that person is like very easily to you.
That will be a new prompt on Hinge. There's gonna be someone on Hinge who has that their
Facts.
prompt, like, tell me about what you think about the Tory Lane situation for sure.
Yeah, because I think it became so divisive in such a bizarre way. And I also want to just add to the fumble of all of this, right? And actually add to the bizarre nature of everything is like, at the very beginning, Megan Thee Stallion didn't press charges against him. It was only after he continuously antagonized her via music. It wasn't until after all this antagonization, she didn't even. This is him versus the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not even him versus her. It's him versus the state, right? So she didn't even press charges against him. She was keeping it very G real, which she did not need to, right?
At all. At
Megan Thee
all.
Stallion, civilian, right? She's a civilian. She is not in the streets like that. So she didn't have to do that, and she did. And he walked into like it was a trap that nobody had set, and he decided to build his own trap and walk into it.
Yeah, basically.
So so I think that it's that so to see him do that, and then for somebody to be like, yeah, man, I'm pro Tory, I'm all Tory all the way. I'm like, this is like, I can't believe he went down like this. I'm like, yo, he did it he did it to himself. Like he did it to himself. And you guys are still, and people are still like, you're going through Twitter comments, Instagram comments. I didn't have enough time to go through the YouTube comments. It probably just says ludicrous, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll
To
see them after this.
Yeah, we'll see them after this because I have a feeling I have a feeling there's gonna be comments on
I'm
this.
sure. I'm sure we got some fans that are Tory Lane's lovers. I'm
Um,
sure they exist.
yeah, to see the people who are like, I can't believe Meg did this to him was one of those things that I just like. I don't like. I just genuinely don't understand. That just shows me that you're not even paying attention fully to what's happening because
Mm-hmm.
that's just factually incorrect. And then on top of like the ideology of like, you know, oh, I can't believe she's doing this to a black man. She's so anti-black and like this, all this, like it's just like, yo, use your brain, bro.
Yeah, the rhetoric was getting so out of hand.
Yeah, the rhetoric of like him, like she's doing this to him, or how is she gonna, put a black man in jail, or um, she, if you listen to this and that and this, she lied and like the girl also that was inside the car lied and et cetera, et cetera. When I feel like everybody just overlooks is like, yo, she did not press the charges. She didn't even want to press the charges, bro. Again, she kept it G real. Didn't need to. Didn't need to. And he decided to he could have taken a plea. Like, first of all, he just could have not antagonized anybody. And he would have been
Mm-hmm.
good. Legit. He would just been fine. It would have been like heat. internet heat for a while, and then it would have kind of just like died down. Like there's only so much you can do as a general
Yeah.
public, right? He could have, then the thing is actually happening. Could have copped a plea.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that there was no plea deal available to him,
No, yeah, there was
right?
definitely definitely.
Could have copped a plea. Didn't do that. Then he comes all the way down to the wire where like it's in court, like we're going to battle now, like for real.
Mhm.
And he lost, right? And it wasn't even convincing. Like if you're really paying attention to the court case, it wasn't even close.
It was not. It was
It
not.
wasn't even close. Like it was so overwhelmingly obvious that he was going to get convicted that it was almost like a joke. Like you're kind of like the internet discourse was happening outside of actually understanding what
Yeah, yeah, it
was
was
going down.
separate from the court case. You know what I think too? The more that shit happened, I'm happy we have time to talk about some of this shit, but not everything is like music related all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it just makes me realize like how crazy the internet is. The shit that we take as normal, like the place we're in. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I be thinking about now is like the internet is so far beyond, and it's like even people who are our age, I realize now it's like we don't have as much memory of like life of the internet. Like we know it happened, but like we were so young and
Mm-hmm.
not, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we're almost like not in the same trap as the like Gen Zers, but like we're Gen Z adjacent
Yeah.
in our behavior, and it's like why are you on the internet in the comments screaming for Tory Lanez to be free? Like
Like he doesn't see it. He doesn't know you. Like
he he he,
he's not seeing
he
any
doesn't.
of it. You're not at the court. You're not even at the courthouse.
I
Yeah.
I think too the thing that I realized about a lot of people is that it was almost a blind belief in Tory,
Yeah.
and and you know I don't know Tory personally, but I always ask everyone, what did Tory do to earn that? Like
Yeah. Well,
like
that's true. Yeah.
is there some deep song that he has that I'm missing, or is he an activist on the low? Like
Mm-hmm.
what did Tory do to earn your like blind belief in him? Because before the trial happened, I was trying to get out of my algorithm. I was trying to clean my stuff up, but
Mm-hmm.
I asked everyone, and this is my question I'm asking everyone who thought Tory didn't do it. I wanted to see what everyone thought did happen. So
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, I would leave Tory out of it, but like, okay, so you think Tory didn't do it? What do you think happened? Bro, I heard 12 different stories of what people thought happened. And none of them made sense. And then once
Mm-hmm.
the trial happened, I said, okay, so what do you think happened now with the trial? And I said this before we started recording.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea that Tory Lanez is, I guess, standing tall, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for this girl. Because again, if I'm sleeping with a woman and we're out at a party and she gets shot at
Mm-hmm.
and they think it's me and it's not me, I'm telling y'all who did it.
Look at that.
Like there's
I'm a
nothing
civilian.
yeah, like there's nothing gangster about Tory Lanez going to jail for something he didn't do
Yeah.
because he didn't take the stand,
Yeah.
And
That doesn't make
so
any sense.
it's like in that sense, I'm like, how do you still get to where you get and thinking that he didn't do it? Where does that leave you? So
Mm-hmm.
very, very interesting in terms of the people who are, blindly trusting Tory Lanez. I think it's a lot of part of the celeb culture. And then the other thing I think, which disappointed me as a whole, especially as Black people,
Mm-hmm.
is how we talked about violence against women.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's this whole perspective that a lot of men have on the internet, and I think it's a very much internet thing for sure, of like them being wrongly accused. When a woman says something, don't believe them right away. And I understand that. I understand that. I've had my own situations where I've seen people wrongly accused. I've been wrongly accused, and I understand how dangerous and scary that can get. But we don't know Tory Lanez. None of you guys know Tory Lanez personally, and I think that being the first place we jump to is an issue. I think we have to go with believing the victim at first. If the victim is lying, we can behave accordingly. But
Mm-hmm.
to see that as a culture, that wasn't our kind of precedent that we set. That's what hurt me a little bit, because I think as a culture, how does Meg feel right now? Does Meg feel safe in hip hop, knowing that Drake took shots at her on songs?
Mm-hmm.
Tory
21
had
Savage.
dudes still 21 Savage, dudes were still rocking with Tory.
Mm-hmm.
Like the culture as a whole didn't protect Meg, didn't show her that she was safe. You know, and
Alias
Meg is one of
Alien
the
writing this. Writing this.
crazy. And it's like Meg is one of the leading women in hip hop and will be
Yeah.
for the foreseeable future, you know? And think about how she feels in this sense where, you know, she was a victim of violence and there was not a rush of people going towards her defense. We
Hmm.
did not see the OG. You didn't see Busta Rhymes and KRS-One hop on live and say, "We stand with you, Meg. It's gonna
Hmm.
be." There was none of that, and so that is my thing. Is, you know, God willing, something like this happens again in our culture.
Hmm.
But to see the way that we reacted as a culture, it's like we had to make it cool to protect women. We had to make it cool to stand with them. We had to make it cool to have them feel safe because there's no reason for Meg, who's one of the leaders of our culture, to feel like she doesn't
She
have our
doesn't belong.
respect.
Yeah.
She doesn't belong. That's not right to me. And again, that's one thing I want to see age because Tori's gonna stay in jail. Meg is gonna be out.
Hmm.
Will we get more records addressing this? Will Meg, you know, go full in depth and talk about it in an interview at some point? I think that's going to be coming. Hopefully, it's not with Bobby, but hopefully, we get a proper interview
Yeah.
where her actually talking about what happened. But that's what I want to see kind of play out and how that, you know, grows and changes because that was a loss for hip hop. I would say, as a hip hop as a culture in our 50th year, that was a loss for us to really behave that way in this sense because we've turned the other cheek
Hmm.
plenty of times with plenty of people. This should not have been one of those moments, but
Yeah.
here we
And
are.
also, like, even if people are like, one of the things that I mentioned earlier, this I think this is before we started recording, because we were starting to get hot, is like I feel like people get hypnotized by the music,
Yeah,
right?
yep, you did say
People,
that.
like, if this was, random, like just
Mm-mm.
literally inexplicable black man shoots
Yeah,
Megan Thee Stallion in the foot, we would not be, we would not, I don't even want to say we,
yeah, yeah.
people of a certain contingency would
Mm-hmm.
not be making that random black man out to be a martyr. I don't understand
Mm-hmm.
why, of all people, you're going to decide to make Tory Lanez a martyr for something that is not, like, what are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of the things that just really is getting to me right now is like this martyrdom of Tory Lanez. Like he's
Crazy.
standing for something. He doesn't stand for
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Like, what are we? Tory,
Yeah.
Tory Lanez not standing for any political movement. He doesn't know you. Real rap. Like, he doesn't know you.
He doesn't know you.
He doesn't know you. He doesn't. I'm gonna break the fourth wall for you. Tory Lanez don't give a fuck about you as long as he was outside, right?
Yep.
He's not gonna be like, oh my god, I'm so happy for, you know, uh, Tory Lane's love 13536. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, like he's just
Yeah,
he just
yeah,
wants
yeah, yeah.
he just wants to get off the case and then, go drop music and figure out how to pick up the shambles of his career that it is now,
This
right?
goes back to my point of people like rappers and not rap. You
Facts.
know, like that's all this is. This
Megan Thee
that
Stallion makes
celeb
better music than
culture.
him.
They don't
Real
want to
rap.
hear that. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear
Megan Thee
that.
Stallion makes better music than him, but for whatever reason, because he makes R&B flips, they're
Hmm.
like, oh, like, the vibes are so crazy. It's like, not really, bro. Like, Tory Lanez is, and also Tory Lanez, the people who are like latching onto the Tory Lanez case
Hmm.
as if there's some great injustice happening, like this red pill incel manosphere garbage. Get a life,
Yeah,
bro.
this is not an injustice. Okay,
Yeah, this is not some
he
great
chose not to.
injustice.
She. And this will be the last thing before we move on to
Yeah.
a whole nother injustice. But she chose not to press charges, like
Yeah.
Damar said earlier. He did not take the stand,
Yeah,
which is
what's up with that? How come you if you're
he
so
did not.
if it was so sweet, why weren't you on the set?
And third, he antagonized her.
Yeah.
I think from those three things, you can understand what went on here. So listen, I want everyone to continue to love themselves. Please keep Tori out of your prayers. You have
Hmm.
real family to pray for. All y'all comment creeping,
Hmm.
relax. Please, please relax.
So there's this article that came out of Billboard where music executives were talking about how difficult it is currently to break a music artist today. They point to Ice Spice and Olivia Rodrigo being the most, I mean, the most recent breakouts or the most vivid breakouts, but there's been difficulties overall breaking out an artist. The biggest problem with that article, the Billboard article, is like, if you're making it huge on the internet now, there is no playbook. Like, it's kind of like art, but it's kind of like luck. It's kind of like there is no
Yeah, it's kind of
every
random.
yeah, every internet celebrity that you've discovered, you ask them how it happened, they're like,
It's
every single one of
everyone's
them have a
different
different
story.
story. Every single
Yeah,
one, right? So there isn't, so when you're part of that, like, it's kind of hard to figure, there's no playbook to break a music artist right now. Like
and
there's like
there's no playbook. You're right about that for
yeah,
sure.
there's like there's ways to get in, but the
Mhm.
playbook of like, okay, I'm gonna put this person here, then they're gonna be there, then they're gonna be there, then they're gonna be like, that kind of doesn't exist anymore. Like, for example, like Ice Spice,
Mhm.
Munch was like a year ago. From
Yeah, yeah.
Munch was like a year ago, but like she sprout out Munch, then people were like, okay, like what is Ice Spice? Where do we put Ice Spice? Then she's doing stuff with, she does like the song with Pink Pantheress. She goes from
Mhm.
Pink Pantheress to Taylor Swift to Nicki Minaj, right? In her collabs. Like that shit doesn't make sense. Like on its face. Like if you really think about that, like
Yeah.
that
And
that
I think
bounce is
I,
crazy, but it's
I think too,
impossible to really plan that.
I think right now also it's like not they're not like highlighting like all these musicians,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, I was talking to Ivan Berry, we're talking about how like back in the day, like breaking an artist, like a manager like did like interesting, unique things, like for that certain artist. Like an example we thought of was like Alicia Keys. Like Alicia Keys, her big break was being on Oprah. And it was like a black girl from the Bronx with braids playing classical piano.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna impress the Oprah audience. You know what I'm saying? Also, Oprah's big enough, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, she ended up being R&B and whatever she became. But you had the mindset of like, okay, like this will work with, or like he talks about like Missy Me. Her
Mm-hmm.
first big tour was with Sinead O'Connor,
Right.
and it was like, oh, they're not the same like genre, but same message. Sinead O'Connor has a lot of like pro woman, pro black messaging where it's like it will fit. People aren't really thinking like that now. It's more just like how can you get hot or how can you like go viral? And also a lot of people are not musicians.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you're like because if you're a real musician, you could have the music be like part of your selling point,
Yeah. Like if
which is
for
like
like a good example is like I don't know if he still does the streams, but like somebody like Dead Mouse, right?
yeah,
Where
yeah.
he would just live stream him making his own music, right? Like that's something
That's
that I
that's
feel
a
like,
great idea. Yeah.
yeah, which is like he already has his albums out, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
this was like when he was already like really really famous. And then he's just like, yo, let me live stream me in the studio like making it. Like you would like
Mm-hmm.
some people would be, it would be cool to watch. But that's like, you gotta, that's also just like a different level of understanding.
Yeah,
Because
that's
Dead Mouse, he's from the internet, so he gets it,
mm-hmm.
right? But I don't think like your label exec, I don't think they get it like that.
You know what I think? I think we're back in time in a sense. Like come on, at Warner now.
Right.
So like talking about that and like what they're doing because they fired a bunch of people and like a bunch of people got promotions. And it's like we're almost back in time where labels have like different metrics of like measuring you like being popping or you know what I'm saying, or you being popular.
Mm-hmm.
Which like it's like internet only. Before it was like 10 years ago when the internet was new, it was like if you pop on the internet, they don't trust it. They're like, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, we gotta see you sell physical albums first. Internet's cool, but like, let's see you sell physical albums first.
Mm-hmm. Chief
Now it's
Keef's as well.
backwards. Chief Keef, J. Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the other way around, where it's like, you don't only have 50,000 followers, you don't have 100K followers, ugh, you're probably not
Yeah.
popping. When it's like there are artists who have mad followers who can't sell out no shows, can't sell no merch. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I always say, like me and Bridget having all our Soul series be sold out. It's like there's so much artists who I've interviewed, who I've talked to, who I know, who have like way more followers than me who, when they do a show, they're not getting 150 people,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so it's like the internet measure of like success and who's popping, I think is fucking everything up. Because you're gonna give this guy, it's true. You're gonna give this guy the popping points when it's like, yeah, his post got posted by Complex, so he's hot, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, when he puts a song out, no one listens to it, or when he goes
Yeah.
to do a show, no one listens to it. So it's like labels are overrating the like internet popping shit. When it's like, bro, I would say 70% of artists now are more popping on Instagram or whatever than actual in real life or actual like, you know, like the
Yeah.
amount of artists who have more Instagram followers than monthly listeners.
Come on. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're just overrating the wrong part of it, because it's like, but I guess I get it, because it's like if you were my boss
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh, I started working with Jason Derulo and he gained 1,000 followers since we be working
Mm-hmm.
together, you're gonna be amped. You're not gonna like, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna say, but how much records did he sell? You're gonna be like,
Yeah.
okay, so it's working.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that one thing that's I guess proving hard to measure, and this is me just like thinking about it right now, is like the depth of your followership, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can have 10 million followers, but how deep is that follower into what you do,
You.
right? Like you can have 10 million followers, like you can have 10 million followers, but they're like
Mhm.
they just love you're
One
hot, so they
song.
love your post. They love your post on Instagram. For example, Madison Beer is probably the best example of this,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Madison Beer, she's a tons of followers. I don't even fully
Mm-hmm.
remember how many followers she really has. But actually, let me look this up real quick.
Yeah, she's probably like in the tens
She has
of
37 million
millions.
followers, right?
Yeah, that
And
sounds
then I
about
look her
right.
up on Spotify. Madison Beer. She's got 13 million monthly listeners on Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
right? She's a career musician. Like that's what she does. She makes
Yep.
music. But her follower depth is super shallow if you really think about that. Like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she's getting like 2 million, she got her latest post, this happened July 23rd, right? Has 2 million likes, 2 million likes on it. And like her
Mm-hmm.
latest, like her like latest song, um Home to Another One, which came out, when did this come out?
June 30th.
June 30th, has 17 million plays. Like feel like her depth of like artist, like her depth of her fandom is just not there. There's
Yeah, it's
no
not.
way, there's no way she can be so popping on Instagram and then like
Mm.
her music like barely resonate. Who does anybody talk about Madison Beer in discourse? Like that's
And
not
for
really a
me,
thing.
no, never. You know what's crazy? You brought up a good point too. Is like, remember talking about the fame thing, and I was saying like I want us to get to that level where like people just know who we are without even listening to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she can probably get like sponsorships and ads and partnerships that people who have better like fans can't get. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Which also can make the label money. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure she can get like a partnership with Verizon. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
people know who Madison Beer is, whether they like her or not. So it's like, yeah, I like her fans are not there, but it's like she probably can do a lot of shit just from being famous. Which is
Yeah.
like back in the day, it's like, yo, you could be dumb famous, but if your last album was trash, like we do not want to see you on no commercials. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's why I think like I guess I'm happy that they like admitted they don't know what they're doing, because
Mm-hmm.
there that data is there. Like Brand talks about it a lot of how, and Russ does it too, but Brand talks about it a lot of how like his management team, they try and find all their super fans. So
Mm-hmm.
they like when they look at their Spotify data, they're trying to be like, who are the people that listen to Brent every day? Like that's those are the towns they go to, like even
Mm-hmm.
if it's like one song's lost, they're like, which city has, I don't know, 5,000 people who listen to Brent every day?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're gonna do a show. So it's
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
why going to Toronto makes sense for him, even though he's not like a
Mm,
gargantuan artist,
mm.
right?
Yeah, but it's like doing two sold out shows in Toronto. It's like you can know that you could do that because you see. So it's like that's my thing. Is like the data is there to like find and use, but I think labels are prioritizing like the wrong data, so to speak,
Yeah.
because it's like, again, like let me send you. Let me. I'm can't on my phone. I'll send to you after. But the list of all the Spotify people, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're gonna be on that list for like an hour looking at it. Like it's so interesting to see. No, bro. to see like who's losing followers, who's gaining followers, like
Mm-hmm.
where people rank. Like I think Drake is like eighth all in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift is number two. I think Bad Bunny's number one. But
Mm-hmm.
like see where people rank and like how they get their listeners, because it's like not every like listener is created equal. You know, like right now
Yeah.
Gunna's ahead of Young Thug. You know, and obviously that's right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you would say Thug has the more like core fans. You know, like
Yeah.
rock with him from day one. But he's also losing followers like every month.
Yeah. Then he's losing a casual follower though.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like his
that's what I'm
hardcore is
saying.
just always gonna be there.
But it's
He
like,
was still gonna be bumming bar six.
but like the label would see that and might get pressed, stressed, whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there are metrics now that a label can get stressed out and be like, "Fuck, what are we gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do?" That's like the artists now I think who always do the best are the artists who are not like pressed by like, "Oh, I wasn't hot this week. What am I gonna do?"
Mm-hmm.
Who are like, "Yo, this is my album. I'm gonna put it out like this, do it like this, and then we're gonna follow these steps." But the artists who are kind of like, "Fuck, my song's hot now. Okay, let's put out an EP."
Mm-hmm.
Or like, "Oh, okay, we gotta do a remix. Who are we gonna get?" Like that energy, it doesn't work no more, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that what's for somebody like an Ice Spice's situation, um, she needs to start releasing like good music. I think that
Ah!
like, but good solo music. I think her collabs are awesome. All of them are
Do you
good
do you
so
like
far.
Deli? You
This
heard
is
Deli
debatable.
before.
That
Yeah, yeah,
one's
I
up.
heard Deli before. But Deli came on when I was out on the weekend and it went
Yeah,
up. I was very surprised.
I'm not surprised by that. I think maybe she's just a singles artist. Maybe she's just straight up a singles artist. Um, yeah, maybe she's just a singles artist. So
She's a
maybe
mixed drill. What drill artist is not a singles artist?
I mean what pops I mean Meet the Woo that's a classic album, but
No,
okay.
that's pop, but we like that's one guy. And we didn't see him get past that. Like,
Yeah.
you
Well
know,
he's dead, unfortunately.
that's
Fallen
what I'm
3.
saying. Like he like
Hashtag Fallen 3.
Fallen three. Yeah, like like there's no drill artist that's really like not a singles artist. So it's
Yeah.
like she made us be a singles artist, but I don't
But yeah,
know.
so there's a yeah, that I think I would say in her steps of success, she's already got this crazy level of fame. But a nice album would be not I think it would just like who were we talking about before where it was like having this album just like a really really good album to turn back to, it just puts the bullet next to your name,
I don't remember who it
right?
was, but I remember we had that conversation though.
Right, where it's just like no matter what happens, like you can still
Mm-hmm.
be going back and be like, this Ice Spice album was still like good though. Like the
That's
fame and
not
all this shit
happening.
that's happening, like at least we still have the good Ice Spice album, and then we can do whatever on top of it,
Yeah,
right?
that's not happening. You know what I think the difference is like and it's funny because I think now people don't stay the core. Like for example, Chance. Let's use Chance as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Chance's first big mixtape was 10 Day,
Yeah.
right? 10 Day, he basically did himself. He had like some buzz in the city, like people knew about him, but 10 Day was like basically him, right? After 10 Day is Acid Rap, still Chance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Coloring Book is when it starts to get like he's not signed to a label yet, but it's like labels are getting involved.
Yeah.
Labels getting involved, but still, Coloring Book still sounds like Chance, but just a more polished version of Chance.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Surf. Now the new album that everyone hated, that definitely sounds very label influenced.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Very label influenced. When it's like a lot of these new artists, they don't have like bodies of work of original music that is like credible. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like Ice Spice don't have 10 songs of her own before she got to the label where you're like she knows what she's doing. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously she did Munch herself and she did some songs herself, but like Munch is not no high level song.
Mm-hmm.
Like Munch is a cool little single. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like back in the day, and like Chance is not that long ago, but like from Chance's time even forward, if you became a big artist, like you had like 20 or whatever of your own songs that you were like, I know how to do this. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe the song is not big, but I know how to make good songs already myself.
Yeah.
Ice Spice is the other way around. Like she doesn't know how to make good songs yet. Her songs have already been big. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like you can't tell it's like someone like Pitbull or Florida. Like people forget you cannot tell a big artist that their songs are trash. On the internet, we do it all the time, but you cannot tell a big bro. It's true. It's like my song has 100 million streams. You're telling me my song's trash? People clearly
Mm-hmm.
like it. It's 100 million streams, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So it's like these new artists don't have like their own credibility within themselves of like I know how to make good music already. I know how to make music. The label is the one teaching them like what's right and wrong, and they don't have their own compass to say no, no, no. Like I'm gonna make this over here,
Yeah.
So it's like that is to me the biggest thing because it's like Olivia Rodrigo. Olivia Rodrigo is more like in between. I think like she has some of her own, but like when
She has
when
the
she turns
most
25,
traditional route right now. She went through Disney
yeah,
and had an album. Album was good.
yeah.
The only difference was like there was like swearing and shit, and that's like something that remember when Miley's
Cyrus started swearing.
yeah, that was like a big deal,
Yeah,
right? But Olivia was like, no, she's already like swearing and shit. Like she kind of already distanced it from being like a very Disney artist. Now she's just like an artist that just happened to be on Disney stuff. You know what I mean?
I can't wait to see what happens when she turns 25 because I think people care less now if you're like an industry plant. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think people don't really care about that shit as much. They'll still say it, but it's not like I'm not gonna listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an industry plant. When Olivia Rodrigo turns 25, like I wonder what that music is gonna sound like. I wonder what that is gonna be like because this is like becoming this successful so early in your like career of like making music in general is
Mm-hmm.
so rare. Like
True.
people be making music for like 13, 15 years, before they do stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
To be making music for like 18 months and you're like,
I'm that guy
for
or that girl.
yeah, like that's just so not normal. So it's
Yeah.
like I wonder what's gonna happen after that because it's like that's like Post Malone now. Like Post Malone like was very fresh into making music and became
Mm-hmm.
the biggest artist on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like there these. It's like Jay-Z even rapping since '88 and didn't go platinum till '98.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very different ball game
Yeah,
than
yeah, yeah.
what's going on now. So it's like yeah, that's what I think it is. Is like these guys, people are like they're musicians, but they're fresh.
Yeah, I think that just overall, like this Billboard article, um
Mm-hmm.
kind of just like confirmed what we all like what we who are like paying attention
Mm-hmm.
have
We
been thinking
knew
about, where we're like, they have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like they really don't.
they really
Everything that we
don't.
are seeing like with our own eyes is what they are seeing, and they're trying to figure out how to catch the wave. Like they don't know how to start a wave right now. They don't they used
Yes.
to be able to do that. They used to know how to start a wave. Right now you can't. Like how are you going to put how are you going to put your song a song from one of your artists in front of somebody's face? Like there isn't a way to do that other than to playlist them, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like, what? How do you? Yeah, like that's true. Like, say we work to the label, and it's like, how do you make sure that everyone sees this song? Like, what do you
Yeah.
do?
That's not really possible. Like the way that people are so decentralized in the way that they consume media, it's kind of impossible. Like you could be like, oh, I would put, in the past you'd be like, okay, I could put this song in a TV show and everybody watches the
Mm-hmm.
OC or House or some shit like that, right? But now we're in a time period where everybody's streaming, so nobody even watches the same show. Like I can be watching Bridgerton, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which came out a year ago, the latest season, or 2 years ago, the latest season,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna put our song in Bridgerton. It's gonna pop off." I'm like, I haven't watched Bridgerton in 2 years, so I never heard the song, right? So there is no real way to like put it in a place to be heard because everybody's siloed in their own algorithm, right? They got their own algorithm on TikTok or on Twitter or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and the only way currently, from what I can see, for you to put somebody on as the label is to playlist them, and that's not a lot.
That doesn't even do it. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah,
even
that's
do
not
it.
a lot. So that's an issue, obviously, because they're now openly admitting to that being a problem. Like they're not
Yeah,
able to really, they're not really able to put a real artist with substance like on. They can't put you on right now. You have to put yourself on right now.
I think labels are just slow to realize that like there's no we are past the days of everyone knowing a certain artist. or knowing a
True.
certain person. Those days are done. Like, yo, when Billie Eilish won the Grammys,
Mm-hmm.
Ralph told me that's the first time he heard of Billie Eilish. That's the first time he heard her name was at the Grammys when she won all those awards.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how is that possible? I know Billie Eilish since 2016. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and he's being like, that's the first time he ever heard her name, period. So it's like those days of like everyone knowing who someone is
Yeah, it's over.
are
That's why I said it's like
are
everything is
toast.
yeah, that's why I said everything is so decentralized that it's kind of it's hard like to cross everything, to break through everything to everyone is like almost impossible now.
I think you just gotta bring in your niche. Like, but I want to talk about an actual heritage historical moment.
Oh my god.
This fight in Montgomery.
Yo.
One of the best things I've seen in such a long time. For anyone who hasn't seen this by now, hop on Twitter, type in Montgomery Brawl,
Yeah.
have a field day. There's people who have actually made compilations of all the
Mm-hmm.
different angles of this fight,
Mm-hmm.
and put it into one. I love them for that. But you know, I'll give everyone a kind of a preview of this. Long story short, there was a boat on the dock, and the security guard on the dock said, "You guys cannot be parked here. Y'all have to move. There's a ferry coming. Y'all cannot be parked here." Now there was a group of whites, and they,
Mm-hmm.
of course, as white people, thought they could park anywhere. We're
Mm-hmm.
accustomed to that. We know how that goes. He said, "Oh, I'm not really having that," and he untied their boat and kind of pushed it away to make space for this ferry that was coming in.
Yeah.
Now, after
Ferry is
that,
called the SS Harriet, by the way.
SS Harriet is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, a fight ensued. It
Mm-hmm.
started out with one man against the black security guard, then more of them, and it ended up being maybe like 7 or 8 white people fighting
Mm-hmm.
this one black security guard. And then this is where it gets amazing: is you see homeboy swimming.
Wait, you missed one part.
What I
Right
missed?
before the fight, right before the fight between the black security guard and the one white dude, the
Oh, the
black security
hat.
guard threw his hat into the air as if it was the smoke signal, bat signal, like he's calling the Avengers type shit.
Bobby
Okay.
Shmurda.
Right? It was legit Bobby Swear because I never saw the hat come back down. I never saw that. The hat went into the air and it just disappeared just like Bobby Shmurda.
Oh my god! To this
And
day,
then him and the one white guy jump off, right? And it's like, okay, you know, people fight all the time. Or not all the time, but fights do happen, right? And then like 4, 5, 6 other dudes and a woman jump in, right? And then you can see in like the background like other black people starting to like run across the river walk to try to get to the actual dock.
Yep.
Then, you know, and then we see who are we calling him right now? Is it Aquaman? I believe is his nickname right now.
Listen, I actually have a bunch of names here
Mm-hmm.
that I scoured the internet to find, and I think we're gonna choose one out of this. So we're gonna officially choose a name out of this group, okay? And I'm gonna give you from the bottom to the top. Someone called him Childish Branzino.
Okay.
21 Salmon, that's my favorite.
21 Salmon.
Aquaman, that's probably the most popular. Michael B. Phelps.
Mm-hmm.
Scuba Gooding Jr.
Right.
That's a good one too. And then someone called him C Murda. Just straight C Murda.
Right. So
which one do you want to call him for this segment? We're gonna be consistent. What do you want to call him for this segment?
I think I'm
Because
gonna go.
He's big in this.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Aquaman.
Okay, so Aquaman came in.
Yeah. Aquaman came in. He jumped off of the riverboat, the SS Harriet, and decided he's gonna swim from the boat to the dock to go back up the security guard. And by the time he did swim, the thing is he's wearing full clothes. This guy's wearing a full outfit and his shoes. Right? I think he was wearing like boosts or something like that. Swam.
And he took them off.
Oh yeah. No, but he took them off after.
Yeah.
So he had to swim in the shoes in a full outfit, get to the dock, pull himself out of the water. No help. Gets onto the dock, throws off the shoes, it decides to start to square up. The amount of like strength it actually takes to pull off a feat like that is actually crazy. The like swimming with your clothes on adds so much weight to your body. And then to pull yourself out of the water on top of that, and then be like, I'm gonna throw hands right after this as well is incredible. It's actually incredible.
I saw someone say online, it's like, I'm surprised he even had the energy to fight after that,
Mm-hmm.
because pulling yourself up alone on a dock, if anyone's done that before, not
Mm-hmm.
easy. With clothes on, well, after you just swam, not easy. I
Yeah.
saw someone say, I don't know if this is true, but I saw someone post that the Navy reached out to him, which makes a lot of sense, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Aquaman really did his thing. My thing that I thought was so funny about this is, like, someone said, if I saw that dude swimming towards us and he was not on my team, I'd
Mm-hmm.
be out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Once you see that dude on the way, like, so determined, you know something's about to go down. Like, you know it's about to get serious. The other thing I thought was crazy was the chair. That thing on TikTok now, it's like, which chair are you throwing or which chair are you using?
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy crazy trend. But
Yeah.
that person went too far. I think throwing
No.
hands was
Oh
cool,
no.
but the chairs, because there's a clip at the end. I don't know if you saw this clip at the end
Yeah.
where he hits a woman with the chair,
Yeah.
and it's like, yes, it's for a good cause. It's for a good cause. It's for a good cause technically,
Yeah.
but it's like, those chairs hurt. Those
Mm.
those chairs hurt for sure.
So yeah. So leading up to the chair, the boat actually docks, and
Oh
then
yes, yes.
and then when you see, it's just a sea of black people that just poured off of this boat. And one thing that really signified like it's going down like big time to me was the first three dudes walking up to the white people's boat, and they were skipping. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm
You're like,
like,
geez.
this is gonna be a serious moment because I've been in, I think I've been in one fight in my entire life,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been around multiple fights in my life. And I know the signature skip. The skip means some like it's happening. Like we're throwing hands for real though. And
There's some weight behind that punch.
the skip is like I'm closing distance as quickly as possible. Like because when if you run, it entices other people to run. But
Mm-hmm.
the skip is more of like that
I'm
person
getting
is
ready.
yeah, I'm getting ready, and that person is also nearing. But why are they skipping? And then Stuff City. So the fight was, I mean, it ended up being an insane fight. There was police there, but I feel like there were black police there. But I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the police, like you can't really there's only so much you can do. There's like 40 people in a fist fight. Like what like what I saw one person like one of them like were spraying like mace in the air, so like you couldn't like breathe properly, right? And it causes people to disperse.
Yeah.
But you can't really do anything because it's a fight. Like it's a fight. Like there's no like nobody was brandishing a weapon. I think that was like one of the best things to me was
Mm-hmm.
because it was like happening on the water. Everybody's wearing like swimming trunks and stuff like that. So there's no fear
No one's
of like
carrying.
yeah, nobody, this is in Alabama, so
So
you can be carrying like that,
you
right?
know.
So it was really like there was no fear of anything like that. It was really square up. Like this is, it's a fight, and you were able to see a full breadth of this fight and this ass whooping because it was a ass whooping, bro. In full HD quality, and there was no fear of anything serious happening. Then,
I think we
go ahead.
needed that. We no before you go on, we
Yeah,
needed that as a people. I think if this fight is so serious,
yeah,
if this fight ended with that security guard getting his ass beat,
hmm
not good for us.
yeah.
Not
I
good
think
for us.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's so much wrapped into this moment. We're just talking about it on like the video level,
Mm-hmm.
right? The chair, I think, is like the MVP of this moment. You said he went a little bit too far. Here's the thing: the chair bit with when he hit the woman over the head, I was like, that's OD, but I'm not gonna stop him.
Yeah, I wouldn't run in and stop him.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not gonna.
that's that's what you tell homie afterwards. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like,
I was like,
Demar,
yo, chill on the chair, bro.
you was going a little crazy. I love that you was riding out, but the chair was a bit too far. That's afterwards you tell him. You let him get it off, but
Yeah,
afterwards you say, yo, you was going a little bit too far. You was going crazy.
right. But when he was in the dude is like, it's so funny because I was like, you can even hear, how in comic books, like there's onomatopoeia, like you see pow or like stuff like that. Like people are literally like bink, bink, bink. And like when he came with the chair, I was like, bow. I was like, I swear, even in the video, the person's like, bow. I was like, there's this collective. It was a cultural moment. I legitimately think this is gonna be a culture. This reminds me of what it reminds me of like the Trump, like the nigger navy thing, where like
Oh
everybody's going to
yeah.
remember that happened. But this is actually even, it's way deeper than that, because first of all, the boat's called the SS Harriet, right? And
It's
there's a
in
fight,
Montgomery.
right? It's in Montgomery and it's at the port, right? Like if you do like the research on
Mm.
the port is like where like the slave ships like landed and were separating people from their family. Like that was
Yep.
that port,
Yep.
right? So the hopping off the SS, so the white person beating up the one black dude, then it's like a boat full of black people hopping off the SS Harriet, right? To come and get this comeuppance for these white people, right? And so it's like a huge like historical connection, right? Like it's kind of like this, you know, I don't want to say reparations, but it was a little bit of a reparations ass whooping. And then on top of that, with the folding chair, a black person invented the folding chair. so,
There you go.
so it was really just like this historical cultural ass meeting that happened. And from what I've seen, everybody got out scot free. There's no real serious anything happening of it except for the
I
video, you know.
I got three things to highlight, but these
Mm-hmm.
are my last three things. One, and this is probably my favorite section of any of these videos,
Mm-hmm.
is there's a part where a black dude, I don't want to say a headlock, but he's kind of like holding on to a white guy with his arm, and like he can't really like get away. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a woman in between trying to separate them. And a black dude comes to the side of them. They're like kind of like, like struggling with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude is just punching the white guy in the side of the head over and over and over while they're fighting. And the white dude doesn't even look over at him. He's just trying to break free from the
Yeah.
black guy. So I love that. That was amazing. Secondly, I'm seeing some people say there's a Halloween costume in this where
Mm.
people can dress like the crew that got off the
Yeah.
boat. I like that one a lot. I like that one a lot. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're just gonna be like enticed to fight by having that costume on. Just gonna be part of your DNA for that night. Like you're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
be itching to get something going. I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then last but not least, the chairs. Sorry,
Yeah.
four things. The
Okay.
chairs I love because one woman is already on the floor when she gets hit with the chair. So that's to be. But if you see the end of the video or one of the angles of the video,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually the white people who end up getting arrested.
Yes.
Which, if we'd seen this movie a million times,
Mm-hmm.
we would not have guessed how this would have ended. So to see it actually end that way after all that happened is
Dessert.
very, very, it's deserved. And in Montgomery, Alabama, if
Mm-hmm.
anyone knows the history of Montgomery, Alabama, that is an anomaly for that to
Yeah.
happen. So I don't know who made the call or didn't make the call for that to be the case, but I'm not complaining. And dude with the chair did get arrested too. Let's say that. If
Yeah.
someone
He,
black did get arrested, dude with the chair obviously was wilding. He got arrested as well,
yeah.
but it was mostly the whites who got arrested.
Yeah. Like we said, like the chair was it was OD, bro. Like it was a lot. It was a lot. The chair thing was a lot. Um, um, but the white people who did instigate, they instigated the fight. And they did like strictly, they jumped
Mhm.
a black dude. They just like six, seven, eight of them
Yeah.
just jumped a black guy. And they were totally wrong. They were in the wrong 1000%,
Mhm.
right? And they just thought that they could get away with it. And that just shows you, like, not to make our podcast super political, but like that just shows you like the level of white privilege, bro. Like you're in
100%.
the wrong. And just because there's a group of you think you can beat on this black guy and get away with it. And even the idea of like you're gonna beat on this one black dude in front of literally like 100 black people, and thinking like, yeah, we got him and we're gonna be good, just shows like that's white privilege. Just the idea to think that
That you
the,
could you could get that
you
off.
could get that off and nobody's gonna say anything. That's what we're talking about when we talk about white privilege. Just the idea that you could even think that
It's
is
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
Nobody, do you like a black person could never in a million years think that.
And th- and that's why I'm happy this went the way it went. I'm not an advocate of violence in any way, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy it went the way it went because, like you said, that is the definition of white privilege.
Right.
Of someone tells you can't park somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know the enforcement in the area moves you from the spot you're supposed to be parked at. Imagine me parking somewhere in Toronto. I don't like that they told me I can't park there, and I
Mm-hmm.
start throwing hands to parking enforcement.
Yeah.
Never in my wildest dreams. And like that would never be a thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
you would hop on and say, Adriel, I got you, and start beating them up too.
Yeah.
We wouldn't. We don't even have the audacity to think of that,
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right. That is the definition of white privilege. I'm happy that this ended the way it did.
Me too.
Before we talk about Reason and his shenanigans,
Yeah.
I saw this TikTok where someone who was part of the brawl posted, and they had like a bunch of black eyes. Like they were a mess.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking like arts and crafts in the face. And all he said was, I guess that older black guy had some help. And I say, yeah, right. We may not stand with Meg, but we will stand with the security guard
Yeah.
when the time comes.
Yes. So I'm
Yeah,
happy for the security guy.
hmm.
I'm happy just like overall because like they got his back though. You know,
Yes,
they did.
yes.
Most of the people. I mean, I guess the crew probably knows him, but there were
Mhm.
most of the people did not know that man. But they saw the injustice and they're like, hold on a second, we're gonna rectify this shit. Not tomorrow. Not later today. Right now.
ASAP. Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna change this. We're gonna rectify this right now. So that's something that I'm definitely happy about. Reason he needs to rectify shit very soon. That interview, um, with him, who is he being interviewed by? Do you remember who he's being interviewed by?
I actually don't know this show that he's being interviewed by. I know it's Tyrell is the
Yeah,
main guy in the show, and I forget the name of his friend, but Tyrell is like the main interviewer, the guy in the middle.
right. So
But I actually don't know that show.
Reason was on a podcast, getting interviewed for he has an album coming out. I will say that overall,
This Friday.
yeah, he has an album coming out this Friday. I will say overall, this is positive promo for the album. I will be tuning into the album.
Were, were you tuning in before or
No, Reason was not on my
wow?
radar. I'm gonna keep it real with everybody here, okay?
Wow. Okay.
Reason was
Okay.
not on my radar for checking out his music. But I will be listening to it now. Outrage does sell. Fighting
Yes.
against the label, tried and true. It's great.
As SZA.
Yeah, that's a tried and true marketing situation. And it always works. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Megan Thee Stallion, SZA, name X 90s New York rapper, like literally anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was on this podcast where he was talking to it's like Smack, I think it's Smack and Terrell on Back on Fig podcast, right? Where they call TDE like co-president Musa, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they called him, or Musa called into the show, and then
Musa
basically
called into the show.
Musa called into the show, and he basically was like, he just like the best way to describe it, he just violated Reason for no reason. Like he just he basically was just like, you're sitting in a room, right? First of all, basically calling him a lazy artist, like trying to say that he doesn't put out quality music or music at all. He doesn't stop anybody
Mm-hmm.
from releasing their music, which is questionable at TDE to say the least. And that, you know, you're sitting in a room with two dudes that don't even know your music right now. Like you're being interviewed basically because you're on TDE. And for
Yeah, that
your
was rough.
label president to say that to you about you and like in a format that's
Publicly,
being recorded is insane. Actually insane. Like actually just wild. Like totally crazy.
yeah, I was kind of like I was stunned. I'll say I was very stunned
Mm-hmm.
because I saw a clip, like a way shorter clip, before you sent me this full 8 minute thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know that it was all what the clip was. I saw like a little 45 seconds people cut together of Reason being like, you want to go viral, you want to have a conversation. You want to go
Mm-hmm.
viral, you want to have a conversation. And so I kind of didn't pay attention to it. I'm a Reason fan, but I know that there are a lot of people who are not up on Reason like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Exhibit
And
A.
he is dropping an album this Friday, and he's always put out quality music. Like, so I thought it was very interesting that this competition was happening. Some things that really stuck out to me in this is Reason saying he's played 3 or 4 EPs for people at the label, and that they haven't come out. Musa didn't really say what that was. Musa just kind of said, don't blame us. Like, and then Reason goes, did I tell any lies? Did I tell any lies? Like, everything I said was true. And then as well, the guys in the room not knowing any Reason songs, that hurt him a lot.
Yeah,
That hurt him a
true.
lot. And that's when the Reason kind of knew he lost, because Musa was cooking for a bit and was talking about how, no one knows your music. You got to stay hot. It's like Doechii is heating up. Rayvon's heating up. And it's crazy you mentioned Rayvon. I just got put onto Rayvon maybe like 2 weeks ago, and Rayvon is heating up. So it's like, he's 100% right in that. And then he goes, name 10 Reason songs. Okay, name 5. And then towards the end, Reason goes, why are you even doing that? Tyrell could name 3 of my songs. He named 2 of them during the interview. And it was like, Reason is very still, and this is like, I guess it fits us because we're from Toronto, but like a lot of Canadian artists are in where the bag Reason is in now. About them, of them because of their label or who they're affiliated with. And when even us as journalists, when we do press with them, interview them, write stories about them, we're not always up to date on them outside of the fact that we're journalists. Like, if we weren't journalists, maybe we wouldn't know who they are, which is kind of seemed like was the deal with Reason. So I don't know what this is for Reason's career, because I don't think he's going to leave TDE. That'd be my guess. I don't see him leaving TDE. But as well, it's like, I think Reason has some soul searching to do himself, because Reason has not been able to like create
It's
the
a broken through.
yeah, he has, and the quality of music is there. Musa said something about, he's like, when I was in the studio with Q, how many people were there? And one of the guys said like 15 people, saying, oh, Q has this motion, and he has a bunch of stuff buzzing. I don't really know what that means, because there's plenty of guys who record solo dolo who put out great music and have a big buzz.
Yeah.
But to see your president talk about you like that was absolutely nuts. And I don't know if I sent you this post, but it was this page that me and you both love, Hip Hop by the Numbers, had this whole post about TDE and the artists, obviously because of the Reason thing. And they were saying, look at all these artists who are losing monthly listeners on TDE. It's like they had a bunch of them, and I think it was only SZA and Kendrick who had gained monthly listeners,
right?
In the past year or whatever. And Punch, like TDE Punch, replied to it and said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And like kind of being like, "Yo, why are you bringing this up? Like, what's your beef?" And then in the replies to Punch, people were like, "Kind of has a point. He's just stating numbers." TDE getting mad again. And so I think this might be the turn, and I feel like this will be another sound bites in the future, because I'm calling it now. I think this will be kind of the turn of the public turning on TDE.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of people in the comments were saying, this is why Kendrick left. He's about to get even better now he left TDE. We haven't heard from Q in so long. And so, the label has always been the punching bag. You were absolutely right about that. Like, that's never missed in terms of a release for a rollout. But I think this is a public turning on TDE, because I think they're blaming Punch and Top and now Musa for a lot of their favorite TDE artists not doing what they want them to do. Very similar to how back in the day people complained about Drake holding these artists hostage and saying he has Majid Jordan party in his basement, and that's why we ain't heard no music. This is like, the West Coast version of that. I think that this is the start of people turning on TDE, and I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I think that what's happening, I agree. And I'm seeing a lot of Dreamville has done more for Reason than TDE has. And that is,
oh wow, that's actually a fact.
right. And so when that's starting to happen, I feel like that's not a good sign. When you're like, rival, friendly rival
yes
label, is doing more for our artists. People. This is what public perception is, and we're
Mm-hmm.
living in the public perception game, right? Your a rival label is doing more for our artists than we are. You're in a problem state right there, and you also lost your biggest artist, this year or last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a problem. You're in a problem state. Like your label is currently known for not releasing music. Like
Known
that's what
for,
your
that's
label
the
is
crazy
known for.
part. Yeah. Known
So
for is not
that
good.
that's not a good sign, you know. Most labels we're trying to release the music to make money. Like that's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Um so that's an issue. Obviously. And this reason thing is not good for them, right? They're lucky the SZA album came out because that would have been a whole other thing, right? So, but you're thinking about like Q, Absol, like when the fuck was the last is Absol alive?
Well, he does a project, I think, this year. Yeah, this year.
Right,
Herbert.
but
Yeah.
even
But
then it's
before
like
that,
but even with the Absol album coming out, it's like where is there's no motion, nobody was really talking about it. Like I feel like the
well,
TDE's
here's
like lost that space.
I think what TDE really lost, and they had this, we talked about the 2010s a lot before we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
In the 2010s, that was TDE's time. I think they're treating all the artists in the same way. That's kind of what I think is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Is every artist is like take 2-3 years to put something out. Don't do that many interviews. Kind of move in silence. And it's like that's not how every artist needs to move on the label. Everyone can kind of have their own style. That may work for Kendrick, you know,
Yeah.
but that is not going to always work for Absol or Schoolboy. And as well, I think that like someone like Absol fans were elated when the new Absol dropped. You know, actually a really good album. A lot of people I know went to see him when he came to Toronto, but a lot of their artists are not in the kind of the mainstream, in the middle of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows who TDE is. I think Doechii is probably the closest to that out of the new artists. Like she's more towards the center, but they're not doing a good job of making Absol part of the larger conversation in general. Like
Mm-hmm.
when people are talking about Killer Mike's album, Absol should be right there in that conversation of his album can stand with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more like only for the Absol fans, the Reason fans, the Rayvon fans, and that's kind of their issue. I think they have the caliber of artists that all these guys can be talked about in the mainstream. I think about how often we see fucking Jid's name in our comments. Like
Yeah.
we've never reviewed a Jid album. I
Yeah.
don't think we've
Let's
even
talk
not
about it.
mentioned. I don't think we've even mentioned Jid in any of our clips either. Like we don't really talk about Jid like that, like
Mm-hmm.
specifically him. But his name's brought up all the time. Like how many
Right.
times did Jid's name get brought up compared to Absol's name? Absol is on that level as a rapper, but
Mm-hmm.
his name wasn't brought up. So I think there's something that I think TDE has to take accountability in this as well, because I feel like they're not doing their job of getting their artists hot. Like there's always that question people say of like, what's better in terms of signing to a label? Do you want to sign to an artist or to a label like TDE where it's Top and Punch and Musa instead of Kendrick at the head of it? And a lot of artists have like their own idea of what's better, what's worse, And I say it's a mix. You see example like Kanye and Jay-Z and
Mm-hmm.
Rihanna where they signed to an artist and they became, just as big. And then you see examples like Drake where no one on Drake's label is even close to being around Drake's level. But when Drake was signed to Young Money, him and Nicki got to the Wayne's level. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something that I take accountability for, because we've seen Dreamville over these past 5 years do a lot to heat up their artist.
Yep.
Dreamville was where TDE was probably 5 years ago. And now to see that the Dreamville artists, Ari Lennox, Earth Gang, Jid,
Boss.
Boss, all these names are like becoming names people know more than just the hardcore fans.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, TDE precarious situation right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they got the talent, but the talent it's not connecting, except for SZA and Kendrick's gone. So you kind of just SZA is the boat right now. SZA's the ship right now, and SZA had been under wraps for years before her latest album came out. So there's a little bit of soul searching that needs to be. It seems like there needs to
Yeah.
be some soul searching that needs to be done because people seem to not be happy all around,
Hmm.
and people are leaving the label, right? J. Cole's still on Dreamville. Like
Yep.
Drake is still on OVO, right?
Hmm.
Kendrick Lamar not on TDE anymore, and like that's like that should be an indicator that it's not working properly. Like things
Yeah.
are not working properly. Like you
Before we
can't
get,
have one of the big three, then your guy leaves,
yeah,
right? And then they all and the other the other two of the big three are still doing their shit with their label. Like that doesn't
with
make
their
any sense.
label, yeah, and
You
it's
can't
like,
allow that. That doesn't make any sense, bro.
and two, it's like that's how we know Kendrick this whole time, you know, like it's like this, like when Drake eventually left Young Money and started OVO,
Mm-hmm.
that was like cool. Okay, you're still Young Money affiliated, but the vibe we're getting is Kendrick is not TDE and PG Lang. You know, like Drake is
Yeah,
OVO Young Money. You know, J. Cole is Dreamville and Rock Nation.
yeah,
That's not the vibe we're getting here. This is not PG Lang and TDE. This is very much PG Lang and PG Lang.
yeah.
So you're right. Drop the ball there. This is the last thing before we wrap this up. Which artist on TDE do you want to see on another label? Is there an artist that you think they could do better somewhere else? And if they were somewhere else, their career would flourish, new music? Like, is there someone on that label here, like, get them out of there?
Yeah, um I think I think Reason should leave. And I think it would ultimately all of this, like this moment, even though it's painful,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be good for his career, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
heat off
I
the
agree with
label, the
you.
clip is viral. The clip
Mm-hmm.
is viral. The heat between him and the label, when that gets hot, that also helps the artist, like in terms of heat, in terms of people like
Mm-hmm.
have eyes on it. And there's a very obvious location to go to. Be like, okay, I'm just joining Dreamville. Like everybody thinks that it works better there outside perspective,
Mm-hmm.
right? From an outsider's perspective, everybody thinks it works better there. And it helps to actually team up with one of the quote unquote big three that actually is invested in their artists being successful and like people are
Mm-hmm.
not leaving the label, or the label doesn't have like TDE's reputation is not good right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And this is not helping. So I just think that leaving the label for Dreamville, if you can get the Dreamville sign, I think is actually just a huge plus. And it just makes sense. And then you kind of get like this, oh yeah, I'm free. I'm free. I can do whatever I want. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna be able to drop music, blah blah blah. Getting yourself a J. Cole feature sounds like a good time, doesn't it? It sounds like a good time.
I like that one. I like that
Hmm.
one. A
What about
reason to
you?
Dreamville. My answer for this is Isaiah Rashad. I
Mm,
think Isaiah Rashad has been really consistent with his projects. Always been good music, and he gets a lot of love. A lot of people love Isaiah Rashad. When he was the new kid at TDE, a lot of people were into him,
yeah.
and so I think if he went somewhere else and became more, more accessible, he could really blow up. I see him being that next, lyrical rapper to kind of reach that next level. So listen, we'll stay tuned. We'll be stay tuned. That Reason album is coming. So excited to hear what that's about.
Yeah, me too.
But
Hopefully, if it's good, it can be again huge for his career. I think if it's actually good.
I think his albums have always, his projects always been good. That's the thing about that clip. Like Musa was getting at him and saying like, "Ain't nobody know your music."
Hmm.
His music is good. I think that people knowing his music is a separate issue. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like separate issue, but he's at least one of the people I can say like he's making good music. It's just a matter of people knowing about it.
Hmm. So this would be a nice spot for people to jump in. You know, you drop a good album. There's a lot of heat on you,
Mm-hmm.
and people actually start tuning into Reason. Hopefully, it's good. I hope it's good because I would
Fingers
love to see.
crossed.
Yeah, I want to see this development. I'm all for. I'm again. We're here on album. We always want artists to drop good music.
We do
it it just so happens that
badly.
if he drops some good music this time, it'll lead to a little bit of a plot development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for tuning in to Sound Bites on the Alamo podcast. I think this is probably one of my favorites that we're doing. Unfortunately, we were doing it virtually because studio time, or actually our producer, is on vacation, right?
Yes,
But the show
big
must
shots,
go on.
Chris.
The show must go on. Okay, show must go on. So shout out to Chris, aka Patient Zero. But yeah, we're doing it digitally. We're a little bit separated at this time, but next week we'll probably be back in person. I believe
Yeah.
we're back in person next week.
Yes, yes.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe this video. Probably should have said that at the top, but we'll say it at the end. Make sure you're commenting everywhere. If you want to follow us on the interwebs at Album Mode Pod on Instagram, at Album Mode Pod on the TikToks, in YouTube just at Album Mode. We got that on YouTube. Make sure that you like everything and you rate us 5 stars, not a single star less on all of their
Mm-hmm.
podcast platforms. And Adriel, make sure you know yourself and know your worth.
Later days.